Thank you for joining us on the veteran or the VOB, Veteran Owned Business. Today we have Erika Andresen, founder of Eaas or Eaas Consulting. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Cindy? Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on. So disaster preparedness. So this is a really important topic. And I don't think everyone realizes it unless they've actually been through a situation or have heard about somebody who has been in a situation, similar to like Fukushima in Japan. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people think that maybe it's hard to plan for, right? But if you plan, then you're better off than if you hadn't planned at all. So you and I have already talked offline about this and how most people think they have a plan in place, but really things could have been done a little bit better. So tell me about Eaas and how it helps businesses get into the best possible place possible so that minimal damage can happen when disaster strikes.
Sure. So Eaas or EAS, should explain, it's a play off of software as a service, so SaaS, but it stands for Erika as a service. Because You're getting me and my expertise and my passion about disasters and preparing for disasters. And the thing is, what I hope to combat for most people is, number one, is to get you to start thinking about making a plan, because some people don't even, like you said, they're not aware, they don't have a plan. The second problem is, if you have a plan, it's usually something that you're just ticking the box and leaving on the shelf until you think you need it. And at that point, you've not practiced anything. There's no muscle memory. You're actually not prepared. Thankfully, you at least thought about it, but you're not really as prepared as you should be. And you can never actually minimize risk to 0%. That's just impossible. And if someone's telling you they can, run the other way, because they're selling you snake oil of some sort. But even to get you thinking about something, if somebody's not even using the service of having a business continuity plan made for them, but to even get the cogs spinning in your head and thinking about how you do these things and how you should do these things, and the second and third and fourth order effects of having a plan, then that's what's going to allow a business to intercept a disaster or an incident that's going to cause some kind of disruption. It's either going to be a blip or it's going to be something that shuts you down for a while, and then be able to come back afterwards and still have your business not only thrive, and it's not necessarily business as usual. You go back to business as usual, but your business is stronger as a result of having that plan, having lived through the experience, and then going back, as we do in the military, do an after action review, and then make the plan a living document. So you go, okay, we did this right. We could have done this better. And then you're even more prepared for the next time. And as you say, it's very difficult to plan for something that may or may not happen, but you'd rather have something that's just in case versus just in time or nothing.
That's a very great point. And I feel like also practicing that, it helps build teamwork, right? Builds morale. People are a little bit more comfortable in the event of a disaster, when something happens, if they've practiced it too.
Yeah, absolutely. So you learn that the thing is, a lot of departments are siloed within their own framework. They stay in their lane. But when you're working on something like this and you have to reach across to other stakeholders within the company, you're now establishing relationships that didn't exist before, and you're getting a comfort level in speaking to them, learning the same type of language. So an example, in emergency response, if you say, I need a bus, somebody who's not in that world is going to think a yellow 40 passenger thing that takes kids to school and causes traffic jams at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. What an emergency response person means when they say bus is an ambulance. So you're not only learning how to work with other people and developing relationships, you're also learning to use the same language, and you know exactly what it means. So you're not stalling or preventing or delaying any type of response issue. And then but the more time that you spend wasting or delaying is the more time that someone is experiencing the disaster or discomfort or an injury.
That's a great point. That's a very great point. So there are many rewarding parts to your industry, I imagine, right? Like you save lives, help prevent not necessarily disasters in general, but minimizing the damage.
Mhm.
So what do you love most about what you do?
What I love most is, the way to explain it is I'm super empathetic, and I think about the third and the fourth and the fifth order effects of things. So if you're a business, you're like, okay, I have to shut down for an hour or a week or a month. And that means lost profits. That means my product's not getting made. That means the service is not available for your bottom line. But there's a new paradigm shift ever since the pandemic happened, where leadership is now looking at their primary asset being their employees. And the thing about employees, it's not just, there's somebody who has a job. That person goes home every day and if they have a family, they have to take care of that family. They have bills they have to pay. And having a job enables them to have the luxuries of life, of having a home, providing for the family, eating food, taking vacations. And I think so far down that line, where I am just so happy to be able to get people to even think about these things. Because when there's a restaurant that's closed down, and I'm like, oh, it's a shame that restaurant closed down. And someone say, oh, their food was terrible. I go, but that means somebody had to go home and tell their wife that they no longer have a job, and that's going to cause stress. And that's something I think of, and if I can tell you a handful of things that's going to help ease that pain or even prevent it, please let me do that. And, we have the phrase in the military is, you don't know what you don't know. I know a lot. Let me tell you what I know. So now you know.
That's wonderful. And you're right. You say that, and that's one of the things that I always say. It's like, you don't know what you don't know. And, don't be afraid to ask for help with those. Like you can't be the best at everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody can be the best of everything. So that's when you need to call in a professional, call in on you to come in and give your expertise so that they can be in the best place possible and plan for everybody else. I always not that I thought I was the only one, but I love that you think ahead like that too. I always worry about that too. Like something closed down or something happened. I'm like, oh man, trying to think ahead, and it's an empathy thing. And
yeah. And so I also teach at a grad course here in El Paso for MPA students, and I teach intro to emergency management. And even last night, as I was talking to my students, it's to get them to realize, it's not difficult to start planning, and it's just to get over that mental hurdle. We do it every day. And I said to them, okay, yesterday was kind of cold for El Paso. It was damp. It was about 45 to 50 for most of the day.
wow.
When you open the door, what do? You check the weather, you feel how it feels. Then you go, oh, do I need a jacket today? What kind of jacket do I need today? I'm going to be gone for a few hours. Do I need food? Like, you plan and you do a vulnerability and risk assessment every single day in the most basic things. And you don't even realize you're doing it. And even more grander scale, I talked once about estate planning. Estate planning, you prepare everything in advance. So when you are having this extremely hard time, extremely emotional time, you're not worried about, or you're less stressed about, well, who's the healthcare proxy? Who is doing this for the will? Is there a will? You have all the stuff taken care of in the event that you are going through this experience that is never pleasant, but you make it slightly less unpleasant if you can.
Yeah, proactive versus reactive.
Right.
And you're better prepared, and probably the outcome will come out a lot better than had you not. Same, especially, man, 45 in El Paso. I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Yeah, it's going to be 85 this weekend, which,
Jeez. So, and you and I had talked, or we had talked before, so I know some of this, but so what hurdle are you most proud of overcoming with starting your company?
It's going to sound funny to certain people, but it was a personal hindrance. I definitely was doing the thing, and it's kind of like what you do in therapy. They give you a roadmap of how you're supposed to get through something. And it's like, okay, I did this, accomplished. All right. made a business plan. I incorporated my business. I did the research for this. I did all the stuff, but I never actually advertised that I had a business. I didn't put it on LinkedIn. So I'm like networking and I'm like, oh, I'm a business owner. They're like, really? It's not here on LinkedIn. I go, I know. It was having to get over that. It's not even imposter syndrome, because I wasn't afraid of failing. I was afraid of succeeding, which is the strangest thing ever, is to be afraid of getting everything you've ever wanted and having the thing that you've wanted to do for years to actually happen. And I kind of got a kick in the butt from being offered a great opportunity where I was like, oh, I can't pass this up. Now I have to advertise. Now I have to get this website done. Now I have to do all these things. And pretty much I did in breakneck speed just to get over that. I'm like, okay, now I'm really, like, I always was a business owner, but now I actually feel like one. I embody one. I am doing the things that I wanted to do instead of just still seeing it as a goal. Like, I'm there.
That's a hard thing to overcome, for sure. I think, and I don't think you're alone. I think a lot of people that are starting a business, they stop themselves, and maybe they're not aware of it, and maybe they're kind of going through the checklist like you were, but you kind of know, not advertising, man.
But even my LinkedIn, it wasn't even on my LinkedIn.
And then you just said you were a business owner. You didn't even say what you did. You just like, I'm a business owner.
Yep.
Okay. So putting the brakes on before they even start. So what would be your biggest recommendation for someone who wanted to start their own business, regardless of the industry?
Easily getting a SCORE mentor. I had been told that multiple times that, oh, go to the SBA SCORE program. They've got mentors. You should just, and I put a whole bunch of other things ahead of that. I did an entrepreneurial course through Syracuse University. It was a free one for veterans. It was awesome. It also got me to do my business plan. It held my feet to the fire to do that part. And then I found a whole bunch of webinars. I'm like, oh, I want to sign up for this because it's going to tell me how to. It's going to tell me how to. And of course, there are always if you want a free 30-minute consultation at the end, and then you get some information and they're like, well, if you want the rest of the information, you can engage me as a coach. And it's like, okay, well, okay, maybe I'll think about it.
Right.
But then when I finally got around to getting a SCORE mentor, because that was nothing, I was dragging, I would like go breakneck speed and then stop. I'm like, I accomplished so much in a week, and then dawdle for 2 weeks. And then like, I'll do some more, and then dawdle for like a month. And getting a SCORE mentor was one of those things. I'm like, all right, got my SCORE mentor. And then when I was talking to him, he actually gave me all the information I needed and wanted. And I was like, okay, so like there's no like paywall. Like I don't have to engage you or pay you money. It's like, no, this is what we do. This is why we're mentors. We tell you all the ins and outs. We tell you this, we tell you exactly what you need to know. Here's your website. We follow up with you. And I was like,
that sounds incredible.
I wasted weeks and months.
So I have never heard of a SCORE mentor. So what is that? Like, who is that run through, or how did you figure out that that's who you needed to get a hold of?
So the SBA, they do the Small Business Administration. They have these SCORE mentors pretty much in every major city. And if you sign up for one, I was afraid they wouldn't have one in El Paso. You sign up through the state and then your zip code, and they will find you somebody local and for something that you're looking for. And then if they pair you up. So even if they don't find someone within your town, they can find you someone in the state that's going to help you. And I first heard of it probably through the Syracuse University Institute for Veteran and Family Members, IVMF, Institute for Military Family and I'm screwing that up. They're a great program. But it was one of the things that the instructors said, get yourself a SCORE mentor. And then I'm pretty sure I looked it up. And at the time I was living in New York, I was like, oh yeah, okay, there's one here. I'll make that appointment. And I never did. But it was just always there. And then I might have even gone to the week of Small Business Week, SBA's webinar. And they also talked about a SCORE mentor. I'm pretty sure, because I hadn't met my mentor yet at that point. And I was like, man, maybe there's something to this thing. And
was in front of
really,
you twice. So
yeah,
there's your sign. You need to do it.
yes, they're
That's awesome.
it's really great. And these are people who have an extraordinary amount of success in having their own businesses, and it is their way of giving back and making sure. And I don't want to say hand holding. It is a fair bit of hand holding if you need it, but very much involved, and is as involved as you want them and need them to be. So I have a
Nice.
pretty good relationship with my score mentor. So that's good.
That's awesome. I love that. And that they follow up versus like, here's your stuff and you figure it out. Like it's, some people don't work like that. I don't work like that. I like to double check and have, have somebody say like, yeah, that's good. Or almost, that's not quite right. Or you really messed this up. I can take it. So that's all the questions that I have for you today. And I would love to follow up with you maybe in about a year and see how
Sure.
things are going. If you'll, yeah, awesome. So now give me your pitch.
Okay, so do you want your business to be remembered as one that had a shutdown, lose money, fire employees, or permanently close due to a disaster? Or do you want to be remembered for securing a plan for your assets, surviving the interruption, and thriving in the aftermath? I am Erika Andresen, and I am a business consultant that helps businesses survive, thrive, and secure their plan.